Hey everybody! Welcome to this week's episode of the Good for Business podcast. On the other mic is my longtime friend in Columbus, Mississippi, and current mayor Stephen Jones. What's going on, man?
Well, thank you for having me.
How's things going in the city these days?
It's going great. I think we got a lot of momentum, a lot of stuff going on. As you see, Parkview is getting ready to start. That bids came in, so they're getting ready to start on that. Fifth Street is almost wrapping up, starting to look really good. We have people building in the city. We got College Street. Got some construction going on over there. On Shady, they have two houses going over there. We just sold one of the city lots, two of the city lots, but he's combining it to one, to an investor.
Was that Jerome Stevenson's deal?
Yes.
Yeah, Jerome Stevenson, owner of Crylike, part owner of Crylike's doing that. And Brandon Shaw from Crylike's doing something on Main Street, fixing up the building on 11th right there.
Exactly. So we got a lot of good stuff going on. We will be bidding two additional lots that we have that will be going out for bid. So anybody that want to invest in the city, now's the time.
Yeah, and as announced, we're going to date this podcast a little, but as announced by me in the Good for Business podcast, Aldi's coming to town and confirmed by the Commercial Dispatch. We got that. We got a restaurant coming out on Woody's by the water.
I won't comment on that one because we haven't gotten anything actually in writing. So,
No, I don't need you to comment. I think the mall owner whole group said wink, wink, nod, nod, which is all the quote you need for that. A lot of good stuff going on. And then the cover of the Dispatch today is my friend Thomas Taylor, who's a guy that moved here from Salt Lake City and has already flipped, I think, 25 houses in the last year, and he's planning on doing about 50 this year. And he does good quality flips, but keeps all the prices usually under $200,000, which makes you have a nice, clean, affordable house in the city limits for under $200,000. Pretty cool. And he's, as you'll see in the paper, he's very bullish on it. So it's good to see that from somebody who comes from an outside perspective,
Yeah, talking to a lot of people when I'm out, people are saying that they haven't seen this much going on in Columbus in a while. So, it's good, positive energy, and I think we just need to roll with it,
Yep, I agree with that.
We haven't had a murder in, over 18 months now. So let's knock on wood.
Keep it good.
Keep it good. But, we have a lot of good things. I think we have a good police department. They're doing the work. The fire department. We've always had a great fire department. Keep on. The new chief has some great ideas that we've been talking about. So, I think we're going to continue to see.
Relatively new school superintendent, too, who's trying to make a difference. And
definitely.
You and I have talked privately over the years, just so we give a little history. So I've known Stephen. I rolled into RE/MAX about 12 and a half years ago, and he was in the office next to me. We became quick friends and started driving around town, fixing problems even before he was a politician, and he helped me out with a lot of my fundraisers. And then he ran for council, and we drove around town trying to fix problems, and now he's mayor, and he's driving around town trying to fix problems. So. Yeah, I try to leave him alone now that he's famous. But,
and we certainly don't mind, people calling in. If you have an issue, please call it in. I know everybody likes to go to Facebook, but if you want a real answer to your problem or if you want somebody to do something about it, the best thing to do is either call the mayor's office or call the department, that you're having an issue with, so we can get it. I look at Facebook, but I don't respond a lot, and it may take me days to look at something. So if you have an issue, the best thing to do is to call the mayor's office. Have a great assistant in Angela, and she definitely makes sure that you get to the right department and get the problem solved.
Well, I've been telling you this for a long time, and of course I was intimately watching government when I was at the newspaper, and been at least following everything. Man, every single person wants it to be okay. Like Casey at Public Works doesn't want people complaining. He wants the street sweeper to work. He wants the flowers to look pretty. Like, everybody wants it to be right, but a lot of times, I'm telling you, there are potholes. It's raining today, folks, in Columbus. It hadn't rained in a while. There are potholes appearing today, and a lot of people don't understand the science behind it. Right. I had somebody else complaining to me about there's a hole on Military Road right now around 10th Avenue. And I said, listen, I understand you're mad and you're saying the city, but it's Atmos. Atmos, they dug a hole. Columbus Light Water thought it was them. It's Atmos. I tell them whenever you see white gravel, it's probably Atmos.
Right.
And they've come and refilled it twice. Well, now the rain's going to wash it out again, but you can't blacktop it when you got a paving coming through in a couple months anyway. So.
Right. And a lot of times when people are driving, if you hit a pothole at a speed that you're not supposed to be going, then most likely it's going to do damage. But if you slow down a little bit and look out for the kids that are in our streets and different things of that sort, then most likely it won't damage your car, and then you call it in, and we get somebody right on it. Now the process, people want to call and say that it damaged their cars, but the process is, if it has never been reported, like today, it'll be potholes that wash up, and if it had not been reported, then we can't fix it. So it's considered a natural disaster, and our insurance will not cover it. So you have to make sure that if you see a pothole, report it so we can take care of it.
We've had multiple times, especially when you were councilman, when I'd send you a picture of something or you'd ask me about something and nobody had called it in. And y'all do not have the manpower. People think that there's 600 people working in the city of Columbus when, if you're not counting fire and police, you got 120 folks or something and they're not all on city and they're not driving down every road, because there's a lot of roads. Like, I've been on almost every street between delivering pizzas and chasing criminals and being a realtor. I've been on almost every block in Columbus, but there's some I haven't been down in 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, same here. I mean, I try to ride a lot, and it's just like today, even with the rain that we've had today. You're going to have some drains that are stopped up because we haven't had rain in a while. So, it's impossible to see it when you don't have the water going in it. So once we see the rain now and we see which ones are stopped up, then we get right on it and get them unstopped. So, but like I said, it takes the people also calling in. We don't figure it as a complaint. We look at it as, trying to make the area better, and that's what we're here for.
Well, you've done that the whole time you were with me at Remax. Before you ran for office, you were keeping Columbus beautiful and picking trash off the road and stuff. Can you talk a little bit about your upbringing here, living? I know not many people know this. You're somewhat of a, what do we call a vegetarian, pescatarian?
Pescatarian. And
why is that? Is that because you grew up in a slaughterhouse or a slaughterhouse adjacent?
No, actually, I'll tell a funny story. When we grew up, my dad had a bunch of hogs, so we ate pork a whole lot. So when I actually graduated high school, I stopped eating pork. I think that was the last time that I ate pork. But actually, my ex-wife, Diamond's mother, she had some stomach issues, and when we stopped eating meat, she stopped having the issues as bad. So I just never started back, and that's probably been over 30 years since I've eaten meat.
So did you grow up in Columbus proper or in the county? Yeah. Where were you?
No, I grew up in the city, over by Sim Scott Park, right across from Sim Scott. I played baseball in the park, just like everybody else. I ran the streets from south side to north side. I was familiar on both sides because my grandmother stayed on south side, and we stayed on south side till we was probably about 3 or 4, something like that, and then we moved over to north side. And so I was always back and forth from north side to south side because my grandmother and them still stayed on the south side. So everybody knew me as Little Red over there on in both areas. So that's why a lot of people know me on both sides of the town.
There you go. So what was your first job like out of high school?
Out of high school, my first job was at Video USA and a little company called Doc's Rib. My mother used to actually work there. It was owned by a couple of doctors, and it was called Doc's Ribs over behind the Waffle House. And she worked there part-time when she wasn't working at the hospital. And so I used to help out there. But my first real job was Video USA, where I actually worked and became district manager and, moved up.
Where was Video USA? Was it on 45 by Holly Hills?
We had 2 of them here. We had one on 82 and we had one on 45. The first one was on 82, and then I later opened up the one on 45.
Is it the Holly Hills Plaza? Or where was
Holly Hills Plaza.
When did it shut down?
We had one in Starkville. I sold real estate for 15, 16 years. So right before, actually we saw how it was going. So I started looking for another career.
Yeah.
And I became a real estate agent and was pretty successful in that. But yeah, it closed down probably around 18, 20 years now, something like that. So.
Yeah, I think it was open when I got here. And the reason I remember is because I remember when I moved here and I met Roger at the Packet. Yeah. Like 2 weeks after I moved here, there was a black bear, a mama bear that lost its cub or something that was crossing on Highway 45. And the way Roger described it was by the video store, you know. I remember I remembered that. So I was here 2 weeks. That happened. My wife and I looked at a house on Highway 12 way up in Caledonia. We looked at it a second time we went. We sat on the porch. The sun was going down. my wife was inside with the realtor, and I heard a freaking tiger roar, like, roar. And I'm like, there's bears, and now I got home and told my wife, she's like, there's no tigers, you dumb city boy. And then guess what? We call the realtor. I'm like, yeah, she says he heard a tiger, but other than that, we love it. She's like, oh yeah, there's a big cat rescue right across the street, and I'm like, what is going? And then literally another day later, I was going to Papa John's and I saw a bald eagle. Now this was 20 years ago. Social media wasn't as prevalent.
Right.
I learned in grammar school and high school in the 80s and 90s that bald eagles were almost extinct. So, and they're in Montana. They're not in Columbus, Mississippi. And my wife, again, is like, quit making up stuff. I'm like, I'm telling you. And it was like 5 years later before we went to Prophet's Porch and somebody was like, they have a bald eagle's nest out there. I'm like, I told you.
I remember hearing that story about the bald eagle back then. So.
Well, they're all over the place now. So it did pretty. I remember they had one that hit a wire and died when Chief Shelton was around by the police station. So. Yep. So that's something. And then you were in real estate. I think you were the Remax Rookie of the Year for the state of Mississippi. And when I showed up there, you were killing it. I mean, you're doing. I think the average realtor does 6 to 7 deals a year. And Stephen, you were doing 50 to 60 when I showed up, pretty much.
Oh yeah, I was doing pretty well in it, and then I got into politics.
Yeah, what a great choice there.
So, I still did well while I was in politics, but I probably did better when I wasn't. So it just takes a lot of time.
Well, you're also, and I've seen that firsthand. Like if somebody calls about a pothole, you kind of take that as seriously as dealing with a house. And I think once you get elected mayor, you got to put your license on hold. You don't have to, but I think you did.
I did. Right? Yeah, I did go inactive because I just don't have the time, and plus I didn't want anybody to think that I was using my license to get any kind of
what's funny about that is because for a long time you were the guy that was taking the hit on foreclosures and dealing with $30,000 and $50,000 houses, and that doesn't seem like a great benefit of being in politics if you get that sort of thing done. So, what made you want to get into politics?
Well, I sold my house. I was living on Wolf Road, and I sold my house, and I actually moved over in East Columbus and really couldn't get comfortable out there, I guess because I didn't grow up out there. So I ended up stayed out there probably a week or two and then moved over in our family house. My sister actually still lives there. So I moved over there and then just seeing stuff in the area, how things were and wanting to help. I've always been partial to senior citizens and kids, so, wanting to make the area better. So I decided to run. I think at that time, Representative Kabir was running for state rep. So when he won that seat, his seat became vacant, and I said, okay, well, I'm gonna try this.
And you won by a landslide. Was it 6 votes the first time?
6 votes.
6 votes. I remember that because we had that. Robert Smith, the next 2 elections later, and Keith Gaskin were within 50 or 60. But we had one county election, and we've had since I've been here 21 years, we've had 4 city elections, including the mayor's office, and 2 county elections, all combined decided by less than 100 votes.
Right.
So if you think your vote doesn't matter, it's unbelievable. Like if it's raining, it's rainy day today. If it's raining today and people don't go vote, it could change the election.
That's true. It definitely matters. I beat won the mayor's election. I won pretty good, but even still, if 200 people had a thought that their vote didn't count, then it could have went a different way. So your vote always counts. It's one vote at a time.
Yep. And when you were councilman, what were some of the biggest challenges when you were councilman? Just, I hear a lot. My biggest thing is when I see somebody on Facebook complaining about something, my policy. I want them to blame the right person. Right. So when they say, I don't like this traffic circle, the city of Columbus is stupid, I'm like, whoa. In 2012, Alan Nunnally told me, who was our state or United States congressman, that he voted for the omnibus spending bill, and that was like $60 billion, and Mississippi got $1 billion, and then each county got to pick based on the population, like 2 places for a traffic circle. And Kevin Stafford did a study, and they picked that thing there. By the way, Kevin Stafford told me the other day at Military Road, where that thing is, they used to average 7 serious wrecks with injuries per month. They haven't even had a wreck with injury in years.
Well, that's the same thing with all the roundabouts. If you look at the roundabouts over there by Lowe's, they were constantly having accidents, coming off of that highway, people trying to beat the traffic.
And it isn't just saving people's lives or their insurance money. I mean, you got gas. Every response in City Columbus. Part of the reason we have the highest rated fire department in the state is the fire department responds to everything, ambulance and police.
Right.
And when you talk about, I think the stat is every 15 minutes that if just all three of those are there, one ambulance, one fire truck, one thing, whether whoever's paying the gas bill, whether it's the ambulance service or whatever,
Right.
you're spending like $700 for 15 minutes. So $2,800 an hour for every serious car wreck. Yeah. And somebody's paying for it. If the ambulance is paying for it, the next time they bid the contract, they're paying more.
Right.
And that's the slower they're getting to your problem.
Exactly. And the same thing with the one down here by Harvest. People would come off that curve going too fast trying to make that turn, trucks, and we haven't had an accident since we put it in. So
now that one drives me nuts, but that's the reason it drives me nuts is because
it's to get you to slow down.
And I'm not just saying this because my daughter's been interning with Kevin Stafford at Neil Schaefer Engineering, but he's a city engineer, and I call him just as a nerd, right? Like, why are y'all doing this here? And he's like, most traffic things force you to make a decision.
Right.
They force you to go, I got to slow down. I watched an 18-wheeler taking a right turn over the giant dots downtown today, and I thought he's probably not going to want to do that again.
Right,
he's
exactly.
He doesn't care about the big dots, but you could tell he was aggravated for making the turn. It's because he's not supposed to be going that way.
Right, so. And as we know, most people just don't like change. We have that problem with, even some of the stuff in the city that we want to change now. Some of the employees don't like change. People just do not like change, but once they get used to the change, then they realize that it was for the best. So,
I had a good client and friend who complained about the Burn Sturt and Construction, which is doing the work right there on the highway, on 5th Street North, technically, at the beginning right there where they're doing all the trees and all this stuff.
Right.
And it's taken longer, but it still hasn't taken longer than the original scope that was given out. They're going to
no, they're going to finish way ahead of schedule. Way ahead,
but everybody think, and then the thing I told him was like, I saw you complaining about it. I wasn't going to jump in because they're my friends and my clients at the Parkview development, and I was like, they haven't blocked the street at all. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, they made it so you could drive through there every day. And I said, some of the things they're doing is, again, what I learned from Kevin years ago. The reason the cones were in certain places was to teach you, as people go there every day, to mindlessly drive through and not hit because there's going to be a tree there in a couple
and what
days.
the end result will be.
It's going to be beautiful.
Yeah. And it's made to slow down traffic right there in that area. People in that laundromat and those other businesses, I think the restaurant, the store, convenience store, people are walking back and forth, and then plus this allow people, once they get through with Parkview, they'll have a good walk down to the soccer complex. So, it's all done, it's looking good, but it's all done for a reason also. And then we'll, at the end of the day, we'll connect it all the way downtown. We've been looking at, still in one of the previous plans, they wanted to take the river walk on down to the base, so that'll probably come back up and probably be done in phases.
And I remember part of that was, the bypass 20 years ago. I mean, 3 different times was supposed to go, back by Wilkins Wise, and they gave up on that. But I can tell you that there's no business on Highway 45 complaining about traffic. They like that.
Right. Oh, yeah.
You'd rather have all that traffic going there. And I mean, I have Air Force families all the time that love the soccer complex and Riverwalk, that quality of life, or they call it quality of place. They just like it. And that wasn't here when I got here, and I've been here 20 years.
Right.
I remember they were tearing up the soccer complex when I got here. So.
And then the amphitheater, once they finish that, they I think the bids will be next week or the week after. We'll have the bids in for that, so they'll start work on that. So, like I said, Columbus, we have a lot of good things going on. So we just
we do. I mean, it's like a lot of things. You just got to start. You got to start talking good about yourself, and
that's it.
I have more friends who are doing it over time who've been here because there's a large contingent of people, especially that live downtown, who are just who have bet big on Columbus for a long time. And there's some surprising stuff. I've been doing some comps, comparable sales for real estate in the heart of East Columbus, where a lot of people don't even think they want to go or live. A couple $200,000 houses sold near Columbus High this year. Like they're some of the neighborhoods are becoming more owner occupied than renters,
right?
And which is helping everybody. And we're very fortunate to be like on TVA's grid and have Columbus Light and Water, just a very fiscally sound group running our operation. Not everything's perfect, but we have a lot of advantages here. So.
Well, Columbus is only going to get better. We're actually working on some rental ordinances and different things also. So we're going to make Columbus better.
There you go. How is I know the biggest challenge anybody will ever say with Columbus is some people touch on crime, but statistically speaking, we're not that different than most towns our size. What about schools? So the biggest thing, I know we got a new superintendent. You and I have talked in the past about like every troubled kid goes through Columbus Middle. And, you know, I don't know if 100% vocational training is the way to go, but what's your opinion on what they need to do to, in my opinion, you know, if you took we've talked about poverty being the issue of third generation people who've never read and never done anything, you know, like didn't get to go to school, being the bigger challenge than blaming teachers or like some people literally blame the school building. You know what I mean?
Well, it's just about keeping kids in school. You know, when kids are missing school, then they're most likely to fail. I think we have a good superintendent, and we've had good superintendents in the past. But allowing people to do their jobs and giving them the support that they need. I think Columbus is definitely on the right track as far as school-wise. You know, sports, you know, play a big role. People may, you know, think that it doesn't, but if you have a winning program, then kids are more likely to want to come to school and be a part of that. So the basketball team winning the championship. We have a new coach for football. Hopefully he'll do a great job. But once people buy in and support those programs, then it makes the kids buy in also. You know?
Well, it matters for quality of life, too. And the best example I had that I was watching, and I am a nerd for this stuff, but I was watching like a municipal conference once, and the guy's like, take all the sports out of the city of Boston. Right. Yes, it's got great universities and great culture and great art, but not as many people want to live there. Right. And some people don't think that high school sports are that important, but I've been seeing, with the board of the Lowndes County Sports Hall of Fame and seeing just how valuable and important it has been to those kind of people. And we have so many great things going on in town. I just left the Rotary luncheon that had the theater. Like we got a great theater that's reaching out to the inner city schools.
Right. And academically, I mean, we have some great students in school. My granddaughter goes to middle school, and she's made all A's, since she's been there. So we have some really smart kids in the school. Theater. They do a lot of theater plays. Miss Petty done a great job, with them putting on plays. So they have a lot of good stuff going on in the school. I think it's just, getting the kids to buy in, and they have some great teachers, that are really putting their heart into, teaching the kids and wanting the schools to succeed. So I think, like I said, it all starts with building houses in Columbus and giving people places to live, and then that's going to return. They'll go to the city schools, and you'll have greater school system. So I think we're on the right track.
Well, I don't know if I've seen as much of a flip, and there's been several prominent people online on Facebook who've switch their position. But Probst Park's a great example. Why are we spending money on this? Why are we spending the money on this? And then, now they're like, oh, my God, have you been out there? And, when I say it makes the kids and everybody stand a little bit taller and act a little bit better, because you got something to take care of and it's beautiful. And
that's another area I'm glad that, as a councilman, we invested in that area.
Against the thoughts of
everybody,
lot of people.
Everybody thought that we shouldn't put any money in there. But now you go out there, the pickleballs are full every single day.
What's good about that, too, is that you've got we always talk about, candidly, white people and black people hanging out. We have a bunch of overlapping communities in Columbus. It's not just black and white, poor and rich, all that sort of stuff. Pickleball is one of those sports that sort of, like, if a kid sees them playing, oh my God, I can go see what that is. It's not like tennis where it seems kind of out of reach.
Right.
It's tangible. It looks easy enough. It's not that expensive to get into.
We redid the tennis courts out there also, so that you'll see some tennis and some pickleball out there.
I was driving my daughter. Great. I was driving my daughter back from. She came from college. We went to United Deli the other day, and she went back. She's like, "What happened here?" I'm like, "Look at all that stuff."
And then the skate park, we're actually going to look at redoing that. They're getting new equipment, playground equipment. So you're going to see a lot of change, and not just at Probst Park. Even your neighborhood parks. We putting money into the neighborhood parks as well.
Yeah, so we made some progress on Lee Park this year.
Yep, Lee Park,
late last year. Yeah,
Sim Scott, Townsend. All of those. We've been putting a little love into all of them. So I've always said that our neighborhood parks should be places where if you're in one of the centers and having a family reunion, then you feel comfortable out there on the field playing kickball and softball. We just don't have the families that we used to have. When I grew up over on the north side at Sim Scott. You know, it was 6 of us in our family. The house next door had 5. The one down the street had 7. The other one had 8 or 9. You know, so you had enough just to fill in one little area.
Yeah.
You can make 7 or 8 teams in one area, but now you just don't have that. So that's why those fields are just neighborhood parks where you can go out and practice your craft. You know, if you got a kid that's living in the neighborhood, he can go out there and practice baseball. He can do it by himself, or he can go out there and practice shooting basketball by himself. You know, so trying to put things in those parks that kids can do by themselves to make themselves better. So when they do go to the school, we will have a winning program, or we'll have a player that can that has already practiced and played, and we just have to keep them safe. That's why when I was on the council, that's why the first thing that we did was make sure we put cameras around the park to keep them safe. So and just to continue things of that, you can't have a police there every minute of the day, but those cameras will really help. When I get to the office in the morning, the first thing I do is look at the cameras to make sure that all of them are working. So that when something does happen, we can look back and we can solve that problem. In the future, we also want to do a crime center, so those cameras will be monitored in the future. And maybe getting either some senior citizens or something to come in and watch them, or either connect with 911 where they actually have them in 911, so that when you call 911, something happens, they'll see who's coming out of the area, so they can relay that to the police. So we have a lot of good ideas. I was actually in D.C. hanging out with some of the other mayors, the mayor of Baltimore, which is doing a great job. The mayor of Birmingham, he's doing a great job. So just being able to talk to those people and seeing some of the stuff that they're doing and wanting to bring back to Columbus. So, that always makes a difference when somebody else has already figured out. You don't have to try to reinvent the wheel. So being able to call them up on the phone and say, hey, what you think about this? That helps me out a whole lot.
Well, a lot of the big thinking at conferences now and stuff, when you talk about bettering schools and bettering communities, talks about number one is keeping the kids busy, whether it's even if their parents can't handle them or whatever, and giving them some sort of tangible hope. The example I give is when I done a couple career days at Columbus High, and I'm not blaming anybody for them not knowing this, but when I went there, I was like, are y'all aware that y'all can, if you graduate from high school and go to EMCC, and I said, and you can survive a year and a half there. You don't have to go 2 full years. They'll hire you at one of these factories, and some of these jobs are 60, 70 grand a year, starting off up to 100 grand.
Right.
And they're, and the teacher's like, well, nobody ever told us. And there isn't, it's kind of, we got the development link. It's not really their job. EMCC maybe, and we have VOTEC and stuff like that, but it's a hard message to get out there. Right. And, PACCAR probably does the best job hiring from Columbus, and especially African-American women and things. They just, they figure it's online. Everybody knows about it. But I mean, they're local business people. When I tell them that, they're like, your kid can make 100 grand at 22 years old. I'm
right. Well, that's one of the things that, in speaking with the new fire chief, we want to get back into the schools and lower our age from 21 to 18 to be able to be a fireman. Because if you can go to the military at 18, you should be able to be a fireman or and protect our area.
Yeah.
So, he's going to get back into the schools and start these kids off early so that when they do graduate, then we got a good job for them. And they've already, gone through some of the programs. So we got a lot of good things that we want to try in Columbus and got a lot of good people. And that's what makes me, helps me out, being a mayor, is having great people around me. My COO, Jamie, she does a great job. Jeff Turney is the city attorney. Mr. Brigham, Jim Brigham, the CFO. Those are my executive team, and we get together. We have a meeting every Thursday, executive meeting. So most people think it's just me making decisions. No, it's me and my team making a good decision. And sometimes I get, my stuff doesn't work, and then sometimes, I overrule them. But, for the most part, we make decisions together that's going to benefit the citizens of Columbus. So it's not just one person that, just putting it out there. They do a great job. They make me look good. So
well, nothing's ever supposed to be perfect in politics. That's the reason it's there, and that's a big problem at the national, at the state level, is that they're just stuck and it's a one-party rule. And Columbus has been accused of that in the past, but right now, I know not everything's rosy and sunny behind closed doors. But like the council's working together. I think everybody feels heard on the council for the most part.
Yeah.
I know you and Jason get to talk. Jason's in the building, or Jason Spears kind of is right on the other side of this wall here.
Right.
Knock on there, and hopefully he hears us. But like I said, they're active, and ideas are getting presented, and y'all are workshopping your way through a lot of stuff. So
yeah, as I told them, even from the start when they were all elected, my door is always open, to the council. We can discuss things and whichever way we think is going to be best for the citizen. At the end of the day, that's what we all want. Whether it's for Ward 1 or whether it's for Ward 6. I don't look at it as wards anymore. I look at it as the city of Columbus. So what is good for this ward may not be good for that ward. What is good for this ward may not be good for the other one. Yeah. So we look at it on a city basis and make sure that we're doing everything that's going to be right for all the citizens. Yeah.
All right. So you and I and Kevin Stafford have talked for years, and I'm a nerd about it. It's not because I'm politically connected. I go to council meetings sometimes. Mm-hmm. I follow stuff. How has the paving of the city changed in the 12 years you've been in politics, or 11 years you've been in politics?
Well, right now it basically was done, similar to how it had been done. This next go round of paving, not the one coming up right now, but the next one will use the data.
Tell them about that. So y'all hired
Lowndes County actually had the Golden Triangle planning to actually ride all the roads in the county, and the city lies within the county. So they had the information. We were actually going to pay, which saved us some money thanks to the county. We saved about $100,000 because we didn't have to rewrite those roads. So we got the information from them. Kevin and them will put it in a system, and then we'll look at the data, and the data will tell us what roads need to be paved.
Yeah, it was basically a video running around with, I think, LiDAR and cameras. Right. LiDAR's like a little radar thing.
Yes.
And even if there's cars in the way, it'll look and see the curb's this high, the road's this high, here's a hole, here's this. It can't do real-time like pothole finding, but it'll tell you if there's a sidewalk down ramp that's there, or there's a drain.
It'll tell us everything. We'll use that data to actually pave, which would be great, because, in the past, dividing the money up equally, sometimes, this ward may not need as much paving as this ward. So this gives you the true data.
The two western wards, in which you were former Ward 5 councilman and now Jason's,
Yes.
You got two wards that get almost 50% of the traffic.
Right.
And so they get beat up, and they do have a few state roads in there, but it's a lot when you have
a
lot.
And Ward 5 is probably, Ward 5 and some of Ward 1 and some of Ward 4 is probably the oldest areas in the city, so they need a little bit more than some of the newer areas. So, this,
and it's a process. You said the first time you had paving that you probably did less roads because you were milling them down to the bottom to where they're supposed to be. My house that I fixed up on Military Road is a good example where it's 6 inches different. Right. The road is 6 inches different from the curb because it's just been paved over.
Well, it was a lot cheaper to do it that way, and they did the best with what they had.
Yeah, it was tough.
Because at that time, you think about now, we're getting the internet sales tax, but if you remember, probably 6-7 years ago, you didn't get the internet sales tax. Whenever you bought something offline, you got no taxes from it.
Yep.
So we lost a lot of tax revenue back then. So it was hard. I think Robert did a great job.
I think
with what he had.
I think the estimates were over $300,000 a year lost. And it was about 7 years of where it was pretty obvious that somebody should do something, but they were.
Right.
Internet companies. They're lucky they got that done because the internet companies didn't want it done.
Right, exactly.
It's just a hassle for them. They can't make any money off of it. So.
Yeah. So we
not as much fun to them. So you want to talk a little bit about your upbringing or we can start with you've got some famous siblings. Now you're married to a Stephanie.
Yes.
You have a sister named Stephanie.
Yes.
You call my wife Stephanie. Well, let's talk about all the Stephanies in your life.
Well, I have a twin sister named Stephanie.
Yep.
And my wife name is Stephanie. And funny enough, my twin sister husband name is Stephen. So you got Stephen, Stephanie. And then my brother, his wife name is Stephanie. So it's pretty funny when we all get together, Stephanie 1, 2, and 3. So yeah. So that's always funny.
It gets confusing. Sometimes I tag the wrong one on Facebook sometimes. So.
Well, I don't know how many calls I get or how many texts I get or Stephanie may get, for me and I get for her. So people just really don't pay attention sometimes,
So talk about your sister in Georgia. What is she doing? She is kind of famous. She might be, I don't know if she's more famous than you, but
she actually just wrote a book on PTSD in the military. because she was in the military and her husband was in the military as well. Her first husband was in the military. So she just wrote a book on PTSD, and you can get it on Amazon.
We'll put it right here. Ding.
Yeah.
On the screen.
So that's a shout out to her. But she actually manages, she's a COO for some healthcare clinics in Georgia, down near, in Hinesville, Georgia.
There you go.
And my sister-in-law, Stephanie, she's actually the assistant superintendent of the county schools.
There you go.
So they both do a great job in what they do. Now, and
your brother's all right.
Yeah, he does everything. He's a pastor. He's pastor, real estate broker.
Did he get you into real estate?
Cut hair, yes. Well, I saw him doing it. He didn't really get me into it, but I saw him doing it.
And you figured if he did it, it can't be that hard.
Right. So there we go. And I have 3 other sisters, Laverne, Janice, and Carolyn. Because I said something about one of my twin sister in an interview that Business Journal did, and my oldest sister, Carolyn, called me and said, that ain't the only sister you have now.
Well, that's something people who aren't as close to it as you and I don't realize. It's like if you, I tell people when they go on WCBI all the time, I said, if you have an agenda or plan, it's not going to work. Like you can say whatever you want to the nursepaper, clever quotes, and sometimes they're going to miss it. Sometimes they just can't fit everything in. And, that was one of my credos of the newspapers. I'm going to call the problem first. And I told that to a newspaper person, like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, a lot of reporters and news people will hear something's a problem, call everybody who agrees that it's a problem, then call at 10 minutes before they go to press, they'll call the mayor, and then they'll be like, well, he didn't answer his phone, so we're just running with it. Whereas you could have called and you could explain it. And like I killed so many stories, Robert Smith and I were talking about that at the Sports Hall of Fame day, that I would call him first. Right. And I'd be like, so what happened there? He's like, oh, no. And then he'd explain it, then I'd call a couple people, and they'd be like, well, yeah, I guess he's right. I'm like, right. But like some people might have written a whole story, gotten all mad at him, done all this stuff, and it turns out like it was just
Well, that happens a lot when I see stuff in certain newspapers or on Facebook, and they say the mayor did this, but they've never had a conversation with the mayor.
How hard is it? You're there. Now, look, and we're really good friends. I think I've been in your only office 3 times. I don't think I've spent 10 minutes in there. Right. We hung out a lot more before you were mayor.
Oh, yeah.
Part of that is, as I said, I want to let you do your thing, and I don't want people thinking I'm bothering you, but like, we used to we need to go ride the streets. I feel lonely now that we're not checking potholes and stuff.
Well,
but yeah, that's Stephen, I think you told me it's not something worth bragging about, where I said, I posted the night before the primary, I was like, he's been a good friend over there. I don't give him any money. He's like, you can give me some money.
Right.
He's like, quit telling people you don't give me money. But that's kind of how I feel. I have a lot of politician friends like that, where I'm like, I think people should win on their own and do well on their own. Of course, you've been doing that. And I think I can say that there's a exponentially better relationship with the county, with Trip Harson and the board of supervisors.
Yeah. Trip and I get along good. We talk. I have no problem with him. If we have an issue, then we call each other. And that's how it should be. We don't always agree on everything, but, for the most part, we do get along.
Yeah, I think and he's pretty pragmatic. And that's how politicians, like at a local level, it really shouldn't be Democrat versus Republican. I always tell people, like, y'all aren't deciding abortion and all this other stuff. You know what I mean?
I don't really think locally it is Democrat or Republican. I think it's always about right or wrong, or agree and disagree. And sometimes you just have to agree to disagree. But for the most part, we can work together. We can hear each other out, and see it from both sides. So.
What's other than the amphitheater? Any big plans coming up city-wise for the end of the year? I know you're a few months away from budget time, but
I'm got the Mayor's Unity Day celebration coming up June the 6th. It'll be at the Riverwalk. Anybody that wants to donate, give us a call. We'll definitely be looking for people
some water and some food. He's staring right at me when he says that. I don't give him money, but I can give that money. Be okay, or I get you food or water.
We'll have catfish. We're going to bring back the tradition of the former mayor Robert Smith. Most people, when I was actually campaigning, it was 2 events that they said they wanted to come back, and that was one of them. And then the other one was a Thanksgiving Day thing. So we're going to work on both of those.
Yeah.
And I think it just brings people together, and show that we all we all Columbus, and we all want the best for Columbus. And so come out and get some good catfish and sides and listen to some good music and have a good time that day. And it'll all be totally free.
So when is the amphitheater going to be done? I know they just put out the bids. I'm sure David Chisholm and the Dispatch podcast between the headlines is going to be asking. So
I hope by the end of the year it'll be completed, and hopefully by spring of next year we'll have somebody.
Have the bids come in for it?
No, they should be. I think we got a meeting Monday, and they should be coming in right after that.
Okay. And the scope of work, is it kind of 6 to 9 months sort of thing?
Yeah, I'm thinking probably 6 to 9 months if the weather, depending on the weather.
Yeah, a week like this week, you can't get anything done.
Yeah,
and I think, speaking of, you mentioned Parkview before, which is the Burns Bottom Parkview development. Full disclosure, I am the realtor for the Burns guys. But somebody else got the contract to do the work.
Yes.
And I think they're doing a couple more legal things before they
should actually be starting to move some dirt pretty soon. So
yeah, I think that'll get people excited because a lot of people, when we said, hey, we're selling 40 lots down there and some commercial stuff, they're like, who's going to buy there?
Right.
And then, what we were thinking for the first year was 6 to 7 people, and we had 12 out of the gate. And I've got a lot more who they're like, well, when I see the dirt go down, because, it's like 50,000 loads of dirt. It's a lot of dirt.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And
I think that's going to be a great project. And like I said, with people building in other areas of the city, hopefully once they get this off the ground really good, the CRA will move toward, some of the other areas like, whether it be 7th Avenue or down by Probst Park, trying to help develop those areas.
Yeah, that biggest opportunity is probably from Probst Park to Main Street, because I know the Magnolia Bowl is a very complicated thing being in the school, and now that Franklin Academy's.
Well, one thing else I want to see is sidewalks. Wherever we have sidewalks, you should be able to walk down the sidewalks. But I want to see sidewalks from Military all the way down to Waterworks, from on College Street all the way down, from downtown all the way down to where the graveyard is, and maybe circle around so that they can walk down to Probst Park. On 7th Avenue from Military all the way down, 14th Avenue, Military all the way down, and Bell Avenue from where the college starts all the way down to where Canaan will be building their new church. So if people want to walk down to the church, they'll be able to. So those are some of my goals to try to get sidewalks in some of those areas.
Most of Southside proper, like I call it the fancy part of Southside, downtown has them. Mm-hmm. Northside, where we live, is just kind of touch or go.
Right.
Especially like I don't know where you would put them on the hill on 5th Avenue by my house, but you would definitely need one right next to the Magnolia Bowl. That road's wide enough, but
so
that's all.
Those are some areas that we'll be looking at. But like I said, we'll start in those areas first, trying to get them in the main, fairs to people be able to walk, up and down those roads. And especially once we start building houses, we want to make it where a neighborhood where kids feel comfortable getting out and playing.
Yep, and I'm on it. We don't have a formal board right now. We have a committee with George Irby talking about the blight program, and the city's trying to work on some lots that need to be torn down. If anybody wants to know about that, contact George Irby, or I can give you a little heads up. But they have the Mississippi Home Corps has building programs for builders and contractors if they want to do it, where they can get an interest-free loan. I think for 18 months or so, or 2 years.
I think for 3 years.
3 years to build a new house, interest-free. Yeah. And, we're working just kind of gradually getting through that because it's tough. But people are like, who's going to want to build there? I'm like, well, if you get an interest-free loan, you can generally get a smaller flip house.
People always say who wants to build there, but, people don't think about, people that grew up in those areas. I grew up on North Side. I was very comfortable on North Side when I was staying over there. So, just because you never lived in that area doesn't mean that somebody else doesn't want to build there or somebody else doesn't want to live there. And you do it one house at a time. One house, if you build a nice house, somebody's going to want a new house. So they'll love to be in that area with a new house.
Well, even where I am, you're on 4th Avenue on 5th, but when I moved there, then we had the gentleman who got yard of the month 2 doors down from me. He started doing his yard better.
Right.
And Peter Imes felt pressure across the street. Then I felt pressure because there was all nice, and then I fixed up that house in the corner, and for a while he didn't cut his grass, and then he started cutting it. Right. And I saw him one day. He's like, well, I feel a lot of pressure. The whole block's perfect, and my house is... His house was pretty good, but then it looked bad compared to everybody else's.
Right, and that's how you make a difference. If the city is doing what we need to do on our end, then I think that people will do what they need to do on their end.
I got to tell you, and this isn't everybody. A lot of the public probably didn't even know who Kenny Weigel was, but I can tell you every contractor, handyman, plumber, everybody in town knew him, and he was so darn nice. And next to, I think Pat Adair at the tax office is retiring. I think people are scared to death of Pat leaving. We need to synchronize his brain because he knows everything about it. You can call him in there and tell him a PIN number, and he's like, well, that plat and so sold it. Kenny Weagle was that for the city. He knew every building permit, knew where everybody lived.
We replaced him with Nathan
Catone, and I can tell
great.
You, every contractor was scared to death because Nathan, from a distance, seems very pragmatic and very by the book, and he is. But he has put systems into place. He wants everybody. He's looking for yes. He wants to win. I mean, every single person I know.
He's doing a great job. We actually just rolled out online permitting.
Cool.
We're like I said, there's a lot of good things.
Well, and that makes it better for the future.
Everything just constantly coming up because we're doing so much that people don't even realize that we're doing in the city of Columbus to make Columbus better for the citizens. So that's one thing that online permitting that's going to be great for the citizens. So.
Well, that was a transition wise that people don't realize about how much better that is to have. There's a lot of guys who are doing small jobs who didn't get a permit because they're like, oh, it's a pain. It was like $30 to get it. But if they can hit a button and do it, they're doing the work right already.
Right.
It wasn't that. It was just that extra 30 minutes of doing the little work. Now you got rid of that. And once they know about it, they'll do it. And
which I think one of the other great things that we did when I was on the council was the trash cans. I mean, I probably wouldn't have picked the green color, but, overall, though, that's a good thing. We just need people to take them in at the end of the day. And people that own apartments, they should not be left out on the road, or on the street. Roads are in the county, streets in the city. So they shouldn't be left on the streets. They should be taken away at the end of the day. But we are going to start enforcing that. So we want the people to get ready for it. Even downtown, we're looking at putting some dumpsters in some areas and getting rid of the green cans downtown.
Yeah, that was probably the biggest complaint I heard when that came in. And Bill Strauss, who cleans up downtown, he was your opponent for mayor, but he does a lot of work cleaning up, sweeping downtown. And he had as soon as they came out, he's like, before, like, the garbage men had a relationship with everybody, they put it out. And like, dumpsters are sometimes a challenge. But
well, I was in Huntsville probably a year or two ago, and they have dumpsters in certain areas, and people just have to walk their trash down. That's the price of living downtown. You don't have the convenience of living in a house, so you got to work at it a little bit.
The solution that they have in some neighborhoods they can't do it in the French Quarter, but nobody leave. I mean, you don't get to leave your trash on the street if you live in the French Quarter. What they have is they'll have every block. So, like, 3 of the 4 main downtown blocks touching Fifth have a back area, like a back. Well, actually, all 4 of them do.
Right.
And so what they'll do is they'll put a dumpster there with a big metal gate for the dump truck they hit with a remote, and a small one on the side for people, and you get a swipe like a card, and it gets you in, or an app on your phone, and it opens a gate so people don't dump in there,
right? And
it's an added cost, but over the course of time, nobody, if somebody fills that dump with mattresses one day, you're going to know who it is, or they broke in, as opposed to it happening constantly,
right? So those are some of the things that we're looking at doing. I was out on Lee Drive, the apartments out there. I was out there one day looking at something, and they actually have a garbage dumpster at the front of the building. So anybody that lives in the apartment, they actually have to, walk their trash down, or either put it on their car and drive it down and then throw it away. So if they can do it at that apartment, then we should be able to do it in the downtown areas and in some of these apartments. So,
well, that goes with what I was talking. We're talking to Quinn Brislin about Market Street today, and he was talking about my crawfish boil, which this should be out right for May 24th at my house, Sunday before Memorial Day. Crawfish boil for the Homeless Coalition about blocking the streets downtown. And I said that's one thing that Chief Daughtry and I agree on. Is like, man, it's good to block some streets off. Like, you want to have a vibrant downtown.
Right. That
is, sometimes you can't just drive through the middle of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You want things going on.
Well, they are looking at adding a cost to, which in most other areas they do have a cost to block the roads, because it does cost, Public Works to have to come out there and do it. And so we are looking at adding a cost to it. So, it'll be a small cost, but, it will help them as far as, coming in on paying them overtime and, things like that. So hopefully sometime soon we'll get that rolled out,
Yeah, I mean, I've been telling you since I moved here, I was shocked that the police do funerals for free, which I imagine will stay free.
Oh, yeah.
But and blocking the streets, because, again, I grew up in a bigger city where they were just like, I mean, nothing's free, but it wasn't expensive. You can still get a parade permit in New Orleans for like $300, and that's with an escort. That's them riding with you, So, that's sometimes part of doing business. You want to have something cool going on, you got to pay. So.
Oh, yeah, that's it.
So anything you want the good folks of Columbus to know?
Well, we got a newsletter that should be coming out within the next couple of months that'll be giving all the updates and everything that we've accomplished this first year, and all the things that people should be doing that they're not doing, like pulling in your trash cans.
Yeah.
So look for that newsletter. It'll be coming out pretty soon.
And Mayor's Youth Council's wrapping up?
Yeah, Mayor's Youth Council. We had a celebration for them last night. Great job. Again with Jamie and the rest of the mayor's youth council and the people that helped with the youth council. First lady, she helped out a lot. All the students was great. We gave them tassels last night to wear on all the seniors. So we're looking forward to next year for the new class to come out.
Yeah, and y'all are on your second police department, Citizens Police Department.
Yes,
thing.
yes.
I had a great time with that.
People really enjoyed that. They are doing the second one currently now. People looking forward to wanting to sign up for the third one. So I think that's a great thing.
That helps so much. Talking about community relations, where like I knew most of the higher up police officers and chiefs and stuff, but like the patrol people now, I see them and I'm like, hey, Mike, you know who they are,
right?
And it helps them know, and the citizens too, that if they're at some place, somebody might feel more comfortable talking to them. So.
Yeah, I think my wife, she did it. She said she didn't realize all the stuff that they're doing, and when they have to respond to something, so it gave her a different light on the police job.
There's some video of Stephanie holding the gun sideways, pulling up. So
yeah, I don't know where she get that from.
All right, my friend. Well, thanks for coming on. It's been Stephen Jones, Mr. Mayor of Columbus, Mississippi.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, guys. Thanks for listening to the podcast. My name is Colin Krieger, and my day job is real estate. If you're looking to buy or sell, I'd love to talk to you. Or if you just want to sit and talk real estate in a no-pressure situation, I'd love to help you. I work with RE/MAX Partners in Starkville, Columbus, and West Point, Mississippi. I can help you find an agent anywhere in Mississippi or anywhere in the country. Just reach out to our office at 662-327-7705 or find me anywhere when you type in 662-329-SOLD.